Excellent. We can see what we're doing. We need it a bit more colourful. Right. Welcome. So I'm here. Hello. I am Della by Design. I'm just going to make sure all the tech is set up correctly. So today we're going to be covering a beginner's guide to stamping. I'm going to put two on there. Wonderful. And I've got the screen in front of me so I can see if you've got any questions. If you're watching along live, do say hello in the comments or in the live chat. And if you've got any questions you want to ask, I can answer in the video. Alternatively, if you're watching this on the replay, do say hello. And if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat, or you can email them to me at della@dellabydesign.co.uk, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Yes, always happy to chat stamping and crafting. So yes, let me give a little introduction of who I am. So I am Della. I am the owner and designer of this brand, the Della by Design. So all the images on the Della by Design stamp sets are drawn by me, and I design cards, kits or other projects to go along with the stamp set. So you've got some projects ready to go, and you're not stuck with that kind of blank page feeling of not knowing where to start. So let me have a quick look. So these are clear stamps. They are made from photopolymer. So there are, well, as far as I know, there are two different types of stamps. There are clear stamps and then there's photopolymer. Photopolymer have got quite a strong smell, which it dies off, but when you first open it, you can notice that. But it means you're getting a really good quality stamp because the image is are a lot clearer from the photopolymer ones than just the basic clear ones. So the stamp sets, I'm just going to show you some of the ranges we've got. So these are some of the stamp sets that I have in my collections. So we've got lots of things we can play with and build up, but the techniques today I'm going to show you will apply to any of those. So the stamps, they are manufactured in the UK as well, and they're small batch productions, so I'll show that to my wonderful suppliers. So once you open the packet, they're on these sort of thick plastic sheets, and I'd recommend keeping them on here. You can keep them in the packet as well, gives you some ideas on the back and some quick guide to stamping. And each stamp can be used individually, so there's not like one big block. You can peel this back and take them off individually. They're kind of like they're very robust, like a sort of a jelly feel. They won't lose their shape. So yes, so to use them, you'll also need what are called acrylic blocks. So these replace the big sort of wooden blocks that we used to have with rubber stamps. So we've got these acrylic blocks. They're solid. A lot of them have grid lines on now to help you line things up, but we won't need to do that today for this one. If yours looks like this, sort of cloudy, it's probably got a film on it. I don't think my nails are going to be sharp enough to do this now. I should have prepped one of these before. But there is a protective film on top that might just take a little bit of time to scratch off, or at least scratch to get the corner. There we go, it's going now. So once you get it, you can just peel that off, and there's one on the other side as well, which, unless it comes off easily, I might leave. So yeah, do peel off both sides, because that's one of the benefits of using these clear stamps, is that you can see exactly where it's going to stamp. There's no guesswork. Okay, so keep scraping back at the corners and eventually it gives, and then you'll see the beautiful clear block. Like that. So these are the clear blocks. So this, if you've got a set of them, different sizes, then what I would recommend is that you use, how do you phrase this? This is the smallest block possible for the stamp. So you don't want a big stamp with, sorry, a little stamp on a big block. You want to try and find one that's just slightly bigger than the stamp itself. But for this one, I've got, this one is the right size, but anything on here, it's not ideal for small ones, but I'll show you some techniques on using it. But yeah, you can get little square ones as well. So if you do enjoy this stamping, I do recommend getting a full set of different sizes. And then the inks that we'll need, so we are using these Memento inks, they're dye based, using the black ink pads. The quality of the image does depend on the ink as well. It depends on the stamps, the ink, and the card that you're stamping on. So yes, if you want to, these are, I highly recommend this brand of ink pads, but there are plenty of others. I would just avoid the sort of the multi-pack kids ones. They're not really fine enough for the these type of stamps. You'll get some blurry images, but it's always good to have a go. So got the black ink pads. These are the large ink pads. They also come in a little dewdrop size. I'm gonna have to show you that, that size, which is absolutely fine if you've got, it doesn't matter if the stamp is bigger, because you can cover the ink over the full area. It just takes a bit longer, it's just a bit quicker with these ones. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to use this tulip stamp to show you some examples. So to mount the stamp, so the stamps have got a ridged side, which has got the image, and then it's got a completely flat side. They're both sort of quite tacky and sticky, and they'll stay tacky, and that's absolutely fine. But you want to put the flat side onto the block and just lightly press it down, and then that gives you that the raised image is then ready to put the ink on. So, and then the paper that we need. So what I'm going to start with is some scrap paper, just normal copy paper, and I recommend stamping on scrap paper first. So initially, once you're just testing it out, obviously that doesn't matter. However, there's also a brand new set of stamps that you've just opened. Well, these aren't just opened, but if you've just opened the packet and they're fresh, then I recommend doing about 3 to 5 stamps on scrap paper, and you'll probably see it start to improve as it goes, because there is like not a film as such, but like there's something on the stamps that sort of prevents the ink from taking properly. So you sort of need to, from the manufacturing process, you need to get rid of that first, and then you'll be stamping your way. And then when you pick up stamps in the future, and you've already used them, and you'll use them again, I would still recommend doing 1 or 2 test ones on scrap paper, just because you don't know if there's any bits of dirt in there or something that's upset. I've had like a little piece of glitter, I couldn't even see, but it obviously made a white mark on the thing. So it's always nice to have a little test before you use it on your main project. So let's get inking. So we've got the ink pads. Now for this, what you want to do is you hold the ink pad in your hand, and then just lightly dab onto the stamp. So what you don't want to be doing is pushing the stamp into the ink. I've heard the mantra of ink the stamp, don't stamp the ink. And what you're looking for is, rather than a lot of pressure and pushing down, because it's not absorbent, it's not absorbing the ink, what it's doing is the light little taps, it's just building layers of ink attaching to the stamp. So one big push is not helpful. So right, this is our test stamp. I don't worry too much. I probably did more tapping than I needed to do on that. Just chatting away. So I'm going to place the image and get a beautiful stamp. Like I say, I've used these stamps, use this set a lot, but if it was brand new, I'd expect that to be a bit more patchy, and I'd keep going until it improved. So let me just run through that again. So light taps until it's completely covered, and then you're turning the block over, and here you see you can see exactly through the acrylic block, which means you know exactly where you're going to stamp, which is fab if you want to be economical and you don't want to use up too much space on the card you're using. So I could do it right up on there, or if you're building an image, building a picture, and you want control of where they are. I'm going to place it there. So once I'm happy with the position, I'm going to try and go down in one motion, and then I'm going to put some pressure, and then try not to rock the block to make a blurry edged image, and then to lift up, what I'm doing is make sure I've got my hand on the paper or card to keep it still, and then lift upwards, so not trying to drag it away to the side. And that is looking fab. I'll just do it one, so I'll try and do one that's I'm going to say at normal speed and without me talking through. So tap in the ink, place, lift. So there is a little bit of pressure there. Do take a little bit of time doing that, but to lift up. So, and then to clean stamps. So I just use a wet wipe, but then I store the wet wipe in a plastic bag, which has lasted me for many well, the bag's lasted me for years, but it keeps the wet wipe wet enough for this, and I'm just going to place that on there. I always quite like doing this because it's quite fun, because you get that little image in the on the ink pad. So I'm just going to tap it on there a few times, and then if you just want to make sure you get all the bits clean, wipe that off, and then I store that in the bag so it stops it from drying out, and then I can peel it off of here and place it back on the sheet. So the sheet's got the images on the plastic, so you can put them back in the right place, which is really handy if you start trying to find things if you start moving them around. And then we can do some different colours. I've just done that all on the scrap, haven't I? But they are lovely images. So yeah, once you're happy with it on the scrap, we've then got some nice white card that we can use, and then or you can stamp it straight onto coloured card instead, which is good fun. But I want to do some of these, so because there's some other stamps in this set. So far we've been stamping, stamp these images, and you can stamp them onto, so in black ink you can stamp them onto colour, and then you can cut them out and create beautiful images, or you can colour them in. However, there are some block stamps in here, called block stamps, which are the solid image, which we're going to stamp with coloured ink. So I'm going to take the stem, and I'm going to use the green ink in just the same way. This is where it's quite handy if you've got like the little versions of the ink pads. So I'm just going to test this one out first on the scrap. It's lovely. A lovely image there, and I'm quite happy with that one, so I'm going to go straight to the card. So notice every time I'm picking up the ink pad to stamp and not going for the shortcut of dabbing the ink. Once if you're confident, or if you're doing like a project with like a scrapbook page with like 20 roses stamped around the edges, then yes, you probably, like, if you're happy that some images might be slightly off, then I'd recommend that. If you're building up a beautiful project, I'd recommend spending the time inking the stamp and not stamping the ink. I'll do one more. Lovely. So there are two on here, so you could do one's curling one way or the other, but I'm going to. Right, let's clean this off. Okay. Now I'm going to use the Tulip one. So I'll just point to which one I've taken off. So this solid Tulip. There's one that's slightly larger, smaller, and then we've got some outline ones as well. I'll show you those. So I'm going to stamp this in the pink, and again I'm going to go back to the scrap paper just to make sure that I'm happy with the colour and that there's no bits of fluff or anything on the stamp that I can't see. But I can also having it on the scrap paper means that you can test out whatever you're going to do. You can do have it as a test. So what my aim is to get this at the end of the stem. I overlap it slightly, and I can position that by looking through. So I'm going to do a little wobble. So it goes. There's a cute little towel on there. I'll do one more. It's got a bit of texture to it, which I think I quite like. It might just be the stamping. Let's have a look. Aha, so that's looking good. And let's go back to these ones. So what you can also experiment is what's called like first and second generation ink. So the first generation ink is the first time you stamp it. So you've inked it and you stamp it, like this one. And then the second generation is stamped without re-inking, is stamping again, which I think this colour might be a bit too pale, but we'll see. Oh, it's very, very light, nice and sweet. And I don't. Sometimes you can do first generation. Let's see where I go. But I don't think there's certain colours work differently. No, that's too pale for that. And that's a fun to add some different colours onto your work, but so you get a sort of sense of depth, but they're definitely in the right tone, which is fun. And then I'm going to add the outline. So obviously you can leave like that, which is quite nice with the white outlines. It gives a real, it gives an indication of what it is. But I'm also going to add this one in the pink, and I'm going to add it onto the second generation. So I can line it up slightly off, line it up on there, and you get a nice little variation. And then for the third one, I'm going to just do just the outline. There we go. So we've got some alternatives there, and that means you could colour in, add some variation in the colour. I've got some beautiful yellow and red tulips coming in my garden at the moment, which are like a sort of zigzag fire pattern between them. They're really quite fun. And I will clean this one off. Okay, before I go into a rabbit hole of stamping, there's some more techniques, some masking and other ideas that I will go into in other videos. But for now, let me take this one back. So once we put them back on the sheet, to store them, I recommend if you store them out of direct sunlight, they'll last you many years. And also try and store them flat, because if they do, as the stickiness, if you do get, if the stickiness does start to go, then if they're stored upright, then you're likely to lose little ones. So okay, try and keep them flat and out of direct sunlight. So that said, I said if they lose the stickiness, if they do, it's worthwhile to wash them occasionally. So it seems counterintuitive, but if you wash them in just warm soapy water and then let them air dry, I like to either put it on normally if I do one or two, I'll just sort of balance them on the edge of something to give them a chance to dry, or you can put them on can't think of the word at all, it's gone. The grilling rack from the kitchen, what you'd call cookies on, is quite a good idea, just to let them all dry and then put them back on the sheet, and they'll come back to that stickiness again. It does happen if you're using glitter or embossing powders or things like that. There's little fine particles that will cling to the stamps, but it is easily fixed. Excellent. So what I wanted to do in this video was just do a little troubleshooting. So if you've got some issue, I've never tried this before, of actually doing some things wrong to show you some of the problems. I'm now feeling a bit nervous about that now. Let's go back to the scrap paper. So what you might find as a common problem is the images get flooded. So I'm going to try and recreate this. This is quite a good image. So quite often happens on images that have. So I picked this one because it's got the lines around the flower are really quite close together, and then the flooding happens when too much pressure is. I'm automatically doing it. Too much ink is pushed into the. Yeah, so let me do it this way around. And push. That's what I found when I've had workshops. This is kind of what younger hands want to do, is to push to get a really good image. Okay, let's see if I can. So you're losing some of the definition. So if you're pressing too hard, on the ink, you're losing the definition. So it's not to do about the pressure you're using to stamp it. It's all about the ink, and sometimes you can see even on the image where you can see excess ink sits pooled on the image, and that will just come out when you're stamping. So let me clean that up. If you're finding uneven stamping or the whole image isn't going, some larger stamps can be a bit temperamental, because if you can't get the pressure across the whole stamp at the same time, or you haven't got the hand strength to do that, I recommend a stamping platform, which I might demo this in another video. But basically it's a way of being able to, so this acts like the acrylic block, and you can stamp. So obviously there's still a bit amount of pressure, still the same, there's no like mechanical side to it, but what's amazing about it is that your image is held with these strong magnets, so that you can ink again and then re-stamp, and it will be exactly in the right place. So, which is really great if you've got patchy images, or you're not too sure, or you want to line something up perfectly, then that's also a really good option. And what was I say? Oh. I've got my notes then. I've got the words off card, and I don't know what that meant. That'll come back to me as soon as I end this video. That'll come back to me, and I'll remember what I meant by that. Nope, can't remember. Okay, I didn't do any on here. I've got this here. Let me just do some. Got to do some on the yellow card. Yes, it's so pretty. So yeah, a lot of my I think my idea when I'm designing cards is to stamp the images onto coloured card and cut them out, because it just gives you a really vibrant hit of colour. Alternatively, you could stamp onto white card and then colour them in. You've obviously got loads of control then. You can use soft pencils or like big strong markers, or even watercolours that you can colour it as you please. But what also you could also stamp directly onto the card blank, which you can build up some really beautiful designs. I'm actually, what my plan is to with these ones is to make like a summer wreath of the tulips going around in a circle. So that gives you the benefit of it's a quick, easy card to make. Like, you just sit down with the card blank and the stamps, and you're done. There's no cutting, there's no colouring. You can build up the image. However, it is a lot of pressure on stamping. So if you're confident with your stamping, then that's a great way to go. If you're not, then I recommend doing this technique, because it doesn't matter if you go wrong. You can just stamp it again, and then you can build up your card. So I'll show you some of the different ways of doing this. So here, so we're adding stamping onto the coloured card and then cutting out. This has got a decorative border on the edge, and that's a little stamp in here. And then alternatively, so these ones again, they're stamped and cut out. I've actually inked the edges of these as well, which gives you that depth, which makes like the centre of them really shine brightly. Then this honeycomb image here is a stamp, so that's stamped in colour onto the white panel in the background. And I think these bees are stamped onto a white card and then coloured in. So you've got a few options there. And then this one, just a stamp. So you've got the leaf stamp here, which is on green onto the card blank, which is quite fun. It gives a nice texture. And then these ones, this image on the top is stamped onto white card and then coloured in. And then this is stamped onto a pink piece of card and then beautifully inked around the edges to give it that 3D effect, which is really quite fun. And then I love the little happy birthday speech bubbles. They're on here, aren't they? So we've got 2 speech bubbles and then various little messages that you can fit inside them, which is fun. So yes, I look forward to you starting your stamping journey. Do let me know if you have any questions, if you've watched on the replay, if there's something I've not covered that you'd like me to go into more detail. I do think I'll do a few more videos like this with some more techniques. But yes, do let me know in the comments. But yeah, thank you very so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.